r/Askreddit by Reddit and chill. Redditors. Who are not in love with their SOs. Why are you still with them? Throwaway. I honestly don't know. Because it's been more than 25 years and it's just easier to live as roommates than to go my own way. Even though in a lot of ways it would be easier. Additionally, she would be royally ducked in so many ways. No real income. No place to really go. She wouldn't be able to afford a nice place. I'd be perfectly fine but she'd be in a world of hurt. I don't necessarily love her but I don't hate her enough to do that to her. So I stay. Same position. I rented him a place for a year. Paid all the utilities and hookups. And told him you have a year to figure shit out. Zero regrets. I literally bought my freedom and lack of guilty conscience. Just a thought if you really want to move forward. Duck me. This is the most depressing thread I've ever seen on Reddit. I've had 2 or 3 serious girlfriends in 15 years of adulthood so I know the shitty feeling of feeling alone. I would rather be alone than half of these relationships. From my sill. If I leave I'm the perpetrator, breaking up a marriage, wrecking a home, etc. and hurting and humiliating my kids, my parents, my in-laws, but if I stay I'm a victim of my miserable husband. And everyone wants to help victims. She's not wrong. I left. And I am now the bad guy and everything gets blamed on me. People can treat me however they want to. Because ultimately it's my own fault for breaking up my marriage. Mostly this is my immediate family I'm talking about. And my ex. I mean, I do stand up for myself. But can't control other people. She had me convinced everything was either normal or my fault. Then she cheated and is playing the victim because I read some of her messages after I found out she lied. Now it takes a year to divorce where I live so technically still married for a year. Anyone reading this for personal reasons, just get out. It'll be better once it's all over, man. Just make sure you take a break from everyday life. Work. Everything. Go somewhere you've never been to get out of the environment and have fun. We have a special needs daughter. Who doesn't talk until she's able to tell me that something happened and she can understand more complex ideas and situations. There's no way I'm putting her in someone else's hands. My husband and I just don't mesh. He doesn't like me and I don't like him. For the most part we can get along and even have fun doing things together with our daughter. But we haven't been intimate in years. We're both in our late 30s. And we reasonably don't have family to help. Although once she starts going to school full time, I believe I will have more options to do something financially productive with my time. Could I ask? When did you realize you didn't mesh? Was it true for your whole relationship and you didn't realize it? Or did you mesh first then unmesh later on? I'm thankfully not in this relationship anymore. But out of fear that he'd do something to hurt himself. He threatened to do it when I first brought up that I wasn't happy in the relationship. And he became incredibly manipulative. A lot of people are stuck in a relationship for the same reason. And it's just so sad. I'm glad you could get out of it. My parents did not love each other but have stayed together because of children. My parents too. Split up about 10 years ago. 15 years later than they should have. I grew up in a house really without any love. And while I'm fine it definitely still shows. And my parents wasted decades of their lives being unhappy. I was the one super in love. I don't think he was. Once every 4 or 5 months, we'd have some sort of discussion. The last time, it was that he didn't know if what we had was love. I should have seen that as a warning. But I convinced him to stay with me after an hour discussion. I think he felt guilty. I stayed with him through suicide attempts, drug-induced psychosis, and moved countries for him. I imagine he felt an incredible amount of guilt and stayed with me because of that. I think he cared for my well-being maybe, but he wasn't in love. And it's painfully obvious now that I'm out of the relationship. I hate this one because I can't just chalk it up to someone being a jerk. It just sort of became a habit. And when I realized I didn't have the feelings anymore we had 2 young children and I didn't want to break up the family. And later when we tried couples therapy, this didn't change anything. But our son was diagnosed with leukemia 2 years ago. So I felt we had to stay together until he was well. My ex didn't agree and we were divorced this summer. My son is almost through the treatment and is doing fine. I have not been this happy and relaxed in years. And so far the kids, 6 and 9-year-old, have coped well with me moving and when they're staying at my new place. You guys did the right thing. Much better for children to have separated. Happy parents than married. Miserable ones. Glad to hear you're doing well. Edit. For anyone who wants to ask for proof, please read the dozens of responses of anecdotal evidence. There are also a few scientific studies linked that show that while divorce can have negative consequences in the short term, it does not in the long term. To people saying that divorce dooms their children to the same fate, staying with someone you clearly don't love does the same thing. Obviously, divorce should be seen as a last resort. I do not know why some people are reading this and thinking I am advocating for divorce in every situation. Get therapy. Try to communicate better. But if nothing else works, it is a great last resort. My brother can't stand his wife. Hasn't really been in love with her since about a year before their wedding. He talks about divorce to me when we're alone but he'll never do it. He thinks he'll never meet anyone else being 32 with no social life. Plus there's a strong possibility she might kill herself if they broke up. Or at least attempt it. So together they'll stay. I just hope they don't bring kids into it. Duck. I'm 32. Single. Trying to have a social life. My boss has been vocal about wanting to leave. But he has kids and no prenup. So he can't afford it. My cousin told me about 3 hours after he got married that he didn't want to get married but now he was terrified he would lose his house and basically all his money, alimony plus child support, if they got divorced. I told him that he should have said something 3+ hours ago and he said he couldn't. I then asked him if this was such a big concern to him, why he didn't get a prenup. His exact words to me were those don't actually exist. They're just made up for movies. They've been married just over 2 years now and I'm pretty sure it's only going to end if she leaves him or one of them dies. Considering he's 26 and she's 23 or 24. It sounds like he's in for a long, miserable life. I am currently in an amazing relationship. Textbook true love type of stuff. However, years back I was in a relationship with a woman who abused me physically, sexually and otherwise. And I did not love her. Not for the last year or so when the abuse got bad. So why did I stay if it was so bad? Well, unfortunately, and this is true for abusive relationship as well as for mundane loveless relationships, people get wound up together and then it becomes very difficult to imagine your life without them. Even if it's not a good life. I guess people are better at surviving the current hardship than breaking away into the unknown. And there's a lot more to my story. And everyone's story has its own details. But I think that's the basic answer. You build a life with someone. It gets hard to throw that life away. What do you have in your current relation that's so amazing? I've never had that textbook true love before. Today I learned the best way to stay in a long-term relationship is to be suicidal. And have kids. Being in love seems like a state over which you have no control. I long ago made the decision just to love the woman who became my wife. Fortunately she made the same decision about me. Romantic infatuation has faded. But our love for each other endures. It takes work to maintain. To avoid taking each other for granted. Love is not an emotion. It is a practice. Edit. Thank you for the awards. I'm glad I could contribute to making some folks' days a little more hopeful. And perhaps inspire a bit more love in the world. I love this. I have been married for 21 years and this is true. I also think feelings of being in love can come back. For us it was a matter of our kids being older now and us finding hobbies we love doing together. Reignited that flame. I'm glad we stuck it out through the hard times. I was in a pretty bad relationship when I was younger. I stayed because I thought nobody else would love me. He was incredibly abusive and would remind all the time that if I left nobody would ever care about me or love me like he does. I was just so terrified to leave. What if he was right? It's been almost 10 years since that relationship and I'm happy to report that he was wrong. Although it's taken a lot of work to realize that, and I still have fleeting moments of doubt. Neither of us experience attraction, but we still care deeply for each other. He's my best friend. Also, the marriage was mutually beneficial. Edit. Wowza, I did not expect this to blow up. You all literally doubled my karma, lol. So thanks for all the positive support. I tried to clarify some things in the comments. But fellow A-spec people, beware that the incels and gatekeepers do come out a bit. Honestly, that sounds like a good deal to me. My sister is a massive piece of shit. Constantly calls her husband limpy in front of people. In reference to his supposed limp dong. Tells him that she wishes he'd get in a car and drive off a cliff. I'm not saying she does this just when they are arguing. I mean, she does this literally every single day. Not even angry at him. He's been dealing with this bullshit for 20 plus years out of the 30 years they've been together. The reason he does not leave her is that she would be homeless if he did. She has a bunch of felonies for theft, identity theft, prescription forgeries, etc. She used to be a nurse. Had a decent career. Now she wouldn't be able to get a job anywhere. He knows that if he were to leave her, there's a decent chance she'd die on the streets. Other than him, everyone has abandoned her at this point. Just a side note. He is an incredibly honest person. Never steals. Does not do drugs. Goes to work every single day and works hard. Edit. Here are some text messages between them that their son, my nephew, sent me. I guess his mom sent them to him to show that their father did not deny abusing her. The husband doesn't look great here. But I can't honestly blame him at this point. I spent a couple of years living in their house a while back. And I can say that I never saw the dude get angry, be abusive, or anything else. Maybe he's had enough at this point and is fighting back. Not sure. However, in the time I spent living there, I had my sister steal everything out of my wallet. Sign up for credit cards in my name. Watched her abuse him and the kids, emotionally, nearly every day, etc. Overall, it's just a very sad situation. The reason he does not leave her is that she would be homeless if he did. Someone who's that mean? Not bloody likely. People like her always find a way to land on their feet. In my first relationship, I thought I had scored the jackpot. I was young and he was young and jacked and smart. He overglorified himself and I just couldn't see that. I looked up to him as a god. Mainly because he kept saying I was bad at my studies and cooking and basically everything that I love to do. I thought I would never get someone better, so thus I stayed. I thought I loved him. I thought that was what love was. But I was just proud that I had gotten someone so amazing. I was stupid. I had a similar situation in high school. I was stupid. Thought I was madly in love with the guy even though he repeatedly emotionally abused me. I thought I hit the jackpot because he was handsome and everyone thought he was cool. I stayed because it was the first guy to show interest in me and I had zero self-esteem. I thought if I left, nobody would want me, part of the emotional abuse. Finally left because I was the worst version of myself with him and I think he cheated on me. I even remember after we broke up we saw each other and he commented on how much I'm letting myself go because I had something in my teeth. Fast forward, I'm 4 years married to the kindest man in the world whom I'm madly in love with. Loved her dog. I had 2 dogs with my ex. He was a musician with a part-time minimum wage retail job. So I paid for everything. Cleaned up after the dogs. Cooked for the dogs on days where he was just too damned lazy to pick up dog food. I knew I wasn't in love with him. But I loved the dogs and didn't feel capable of leaving. I finally left him when I found out he was on Tinder trying to hook up with other girls. First thing he did was post a picture on social media that I took on my camera of him with our dogs. Caption is a long ass paragraph about difficult it is to raise 2 dogs all on his own. But he is a dedicated single dog dude. When I was in a relationship with my ex, I liked her, cared for her, been there for her when she needed and gave space if she needed. I don't know if this is love, but she did none in return. She just said yes and that's it. She was only physically attracted to me, I guess. I don't think she ever loved me. She broke up with me for nothing. One day she wanted me out of her life. So I left. I went through that. I broke up with her for having nothing in return. As others have said, it is impossible to love someone the same way every day. So it is normal that on some days everything is fine and on other days you are not sure how you feel. You don't know what love is anymore. You feel confused and suffocated. But what really matters is knowing that you are unable to be disloyal or purposely hurt the person you have chosen to be your partner. And you know you can count with them when you are well and when you're not. And when you think about the relationship, you know you don't want to be with anyone else. I think that idea we have that love should be all romantic and roses is very wrong. Life is not like that. A relation is hard work. In the end of the day, what matters is be there for each other. Ducking like and subscribe.